Nigerians are one of the biggest content consumers on the internet, spending an average of 4 hours daily on social media. For food creators like Izuna, this means there's a large audience spread across the country and beyond for the content that they create. Food is an integral part of Nigerian culture, so it's not surprising that food content is one of the most popular niches for creators. While there are people who've nursed a love for cooking since childhood, there are others, like Farida, who only discovered it as adults. Food has become an avenue to not just spark joy for themselves, but for millions of people who love and replicate their recipes while building community in the process.
How did I get into cooking? Okay, for starters, I'm going to say that I did not start to cook until I was 19. In fact, at a young age, I was a very terrible cook. Like, my mom would send me out of the kitchen every single time because I didn't know how to do anything. Not even boil water.
I still remember the first time I cooked. I made plantain and stew. It was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster. I will never forget because I literally just took the tomato paste, fried it, burnt it, put salt, put pepper, threw it on the flat. It was terrible, but but that was basically where everything started, and I just started cooking more.
I've always had stomach issues growing up, from appendicitis to ulcer, and so one morning I just decided that, you know what, you can't continue living this way. And so I took a nutrition course. I think I was in 200 level at the time. I took a nutrition course, but all of the meals that were prescribed in that course were not something I've heard before. I mean, we're speaking broccoli, we're speaking spinach. I know I had to ask my mom, like, oh, okay, the next time you go to the market, please can you get me broccoli? And she's like, what the hell am I going to find out? So after I graduated uni, I decided I was just going to do the search on my own. And then I would go to farmers markets to inquire about the things that I wanted or the things that I had learned in the course. And then surprisingly, I found out that most of these things were also locally grown in Nigeria. So I would take one ingredient per week, go home, try it out, make different things with it, ruin my mom's kitchen a lot of times. And then that's basically where I started to learn how to cook from.
I don't want to say I'm a self-taught person, because I usually believe in things like this. Nobody's really self-taught. You learn from somewhere, and I believe the internet was very instrumental for me to learn. I learned from YouTube. I picked up things on my own. I realized things on my own while cooking, and I would say for cooking, there's a lot of transferable skills. And you just see things and you just know I can cook it because you've made something that tastes like that or that looks like that, so you just know what to do. So I think it's something you really feel on the inside too as well. So that was how I started cooking.
Most of the time, my recipe inspiration comes from kind of culture, the things that I've watched my mom and my aunt and my grandmother make. It usually also comes from just random weird inspirations from leftovers. Like, I can imagine, I have jollof rice, but I don't feel like eating it in jollof rice. If I put it in a wrap, how would that look like? I just come up with weird, crazy ideas. At the time I had, we eat ewa going all the time, and ewa going and bread. So how would ewa going burger, how would it taste like? And then come up with that. I also get a lot of my inspiration from the internet, seeing what other people are doing, other creators, and just kind of twerk it to our West African palate. So I didn't go to a culinary school or anything, but here we are today.
I think I can't put a timestamp on it, but I know for a while, especially since I moved. No, actually, when I was in Nigeria, absolutely. When I was in Nigeria, I started grilling. I started grilling a lot. I started grilling ribs. I started grilling chicken, and those things looked really good. So I started posting it, and this was around, I believe, in 2018. I started posting it online, and I would get a lot of retweets and likes, and people were just like, oh, that looks good, oh, that looks really good and stuff. So for me at the time, I never really used to post it thinking that this would look so good to everybody. But then the reactions I get made me realize that, oh wait, okay, there's really something here. So it became more of a habit. So every time I grilled something, I made something very good looking or something, and I was working on my presentation. I made this really nice fried rice at the time, and I posted it, and the reactions were just insane. It got like about more than 1,000 likes, and I was like, okay.
I started to document my food in 2020, I think shortly after the lockdown. And that was because I wanted to be accountable to the meals, like I said, that I was trying to like introduce myself to like a new palette. And so people were like, oh yeah, so how do you make that? Oh, this looks interesting. How do you make this? I think the first video that made me realize that, look, I think you should start making more food content was a video about like oats. And then I called people out for eating boring oats, just eating oats and milk. And so I gave like 3 other options of how you can eat oats. And people were like, oh wow, I didn't know you could eat oats like this. And so that was how I started. I basically went the whole year just making oats recipes. And then people started calling me the oats babe. And so with that, with more content, with more videos, people started asking for more recipes, and I was like, yeah, I can't take this as a joke anymore. I have to take it really seriously. And so I started trying to improve my craft, invested in a lot of gadgets, and just make videos. And here we are.
I think it was in the summer around July last year that I posted my first video. I just decided that it was going to be a thing. And that was because I have gotten a lot of people urge me to become a content creator because they're like, you go blow.
I don't know if I've gotten my break yet, but since the guys are in my kitchen here interviewing me, I think that counts for big break.
It was the one where I made shawarma. That was the one a lot of people were like, wait, you're that guy from that shawarma video, right? I'm like, yeah, I am.
I think my favorite thing about being a creator is that I get to impact a lot of people. I'm quite introverted. I'm not sure if you can tell, but yeah, I'm quite introverted. And so I've always had this dream, so to speak, of, you know, making my part in the world, having a purpose, you know, all of those big, huge stuff. But I didn't know how I was going to go about it for the longest time, because I'm not one of those people that would, you know, maybe come on LinkedIn, talk about my experience, accomplishments, or speak at events. Speaking at events is something that I'm still getting used to, but I kind of thought about it that, okay, you want to change the world, but like, what's the best way you can do this without, you know, compromising on your introverted self? And content creation did that for me.
One of my favorite things I would say, for one, is actually having an avenue to be yourself or to make your quirky jokes and just, you know, share those things that come to you in the shower, on the bus, you know, when you're just walking, those ideas, like now having an avenue to throw those ideas or to use those ideas, those moments. So I think that's one of the best things about being a content creator, but also not just being a content creator, but being an individual or an independent content creator is very fulfilling, because you are building something for yourself and with yourself, and you know, you're the mastermind behind it. So you're just basically seeing elements of your thoughts, your mind, your own efforts, you know, filming, editing, everything, just building a name for yourself with your own hands.
I think there was one in particular that made me so emotional. The lady was pregnant, and then she messaged me to say that she was having like a tough pregnancy, and every time she scrolled through my page, she would always be so happy because the recipes made her happy, and then when she tried it, they were delicious and so good. And you know, it just felt very emotional.
I think my jollof recipe, I took a different approach than what people are used to, and I introduced something that was not very familiar with Nigerians, which was a process of, you know, the tomato base and the pepper base and everything. And the reviews have been insane. They have been non-stop. I have been mentioned on like very influential people on YouTube trying the recipe. It was a wave. Everyone calls it Izuna's jollof recipe.
Recently, there's one of my friends that hated cooking. She really does not even know how to make anything. And then she hosted a party for about 15 people, and then she made all the spread. And she was like, oh, like, look at this spread that I made. I made it with all your recipes. Like, I've been trying jollof rice for so many years. I've never gotten it right. It was a jollof rice recipe that made a lot of difference. And then, can you believe that people were still even asking me for leftovers? That the food was not enough, that she can never believe that she would make that kind of meal in her life.
I think one of my best reviews I've seen was a mother in my comments who said she used one of my recipes. I can't remember which one it was. And her boys have been going around, like, just going for second plates. Like, the boys loved it. Her boys loved it, and she just came back to just say thank you. The one that, the best way I can say it, the one that has really stood out to me the most is, like, you know, a man's ability to cook has some correlation to his sexuality. It's it's one of the strangest myths I've met. It's one of the craziest ones. So I mean, if I won't think too much, that's just one of them that is always like, how do people say it? How would I say it now? It leaves like the question mark. Just, you can see the question marks on my head whenever I see anybody submitting something, you know, about in regards to that, or just basically like, you know, as a man, why can you cook? And like
Before, a lot of people used to think that healthy food is really, really expensive.
I know it gets very tricky making very good looking, delicious food side by side, also trying to be healthy, right? Because some of these meals are sumptuous, but they're not always, some of them are not always the healthiest. So it's also basically knowing the quantity you're going to make so that you can know how you ration it throughout the week, or how you're going to eat it across how long till you finish it. And also, like, you know, sharing it too as well. So I think it's something I take the start of the week to kind of plan in my head, to know how much I'm making and how I'm going to eat it, and just like, okay, you know, if it's something that's very unhealthy, then you won't see me making a large batch. The trajectory has been insane. I would say, if I'm allowed to say that myself, it has been insane. And I'm saying it because I know people have said it. People have just been like, yeah, you know, this is one of the most organic, insane trajectory they've ever seen before. And I just could not believe my luck, if I'll use that word, if I'll say it that way. So I think, yeah, on IG, within the first 6 months, I had 200,000 followers. Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And I think that was one of the biggest signs that, you know, this could be what it is for you. This could be it. Like, this is it. Like, there is nothing I have done ever in my life that I have felt that I have succeeded so well in such a short time like this.
This might sound controversial. I don't want to be a popular influencer. I don't think I would appreciate having 1 million followers. I don't think I've gone viral, and I don't look forward to that happening. I know that it comes with a lot of responsibility. I feel like it would be good for my brand, but I do not necessarily know if it's something that I would, you know, savor or like enjoy for a very long time. I just think I want to be the person or the content creator that people know and, you know, refer to our recipes as something that they can enjoy, they can find comfort in, and not necessarily like someone who has to keep up doing things or keep up appearances with them. I want to be able to also have like a kind of like a touch with my community. I feel like I know like about 60 to 70% of my current audience.
I think with most content creators, I think one of the end goals is you know, to establish a business at some point. I've never really seen myself as a business person, but I do have some things that are very much food inclined to, in terms of like family property, if I'll use that word. So for me, I hope to find a way to maybe integrate food content creation with food production at some point, and that's food production in Nigeria. So I think the end goal for me is to basically build a platform for myself that I can use to introduce so many other versions of myself.